And a big thank you to Alistair Brown for piping us there, and Alistair even Alistair even gave you the pause when you were meant to turn round and kiss each other. Those of you of a certain age will remember demming that dance often, where you got a wee kiss with your partner. Yes. Anybody want to name the dance? MacDonald of Slate. There we go. Well done, the Irish contingent. That's great. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, former chairs, delegates, fellow members, and friends, and welcome to the 94th Annual General Meeting of the Royal Scottish Country Dance Society and the Autumn Gathering Weekend here in Glasgow. A welcome is also extended to those who cannot join us today but will watch the recorded video of the meeting over the coming days. I'm William Williamson. I'm privileged to be the chair in this centenary year, and joining me on the platform are Lizzie Conder, our treasurer, Gary Coole, the chair-elect, and John Berridge, our chief operating officer. Now, before moving on to the agenda, of course, I must point out that there is no planned alarm test this afternoon. While I'm doing this, if you want to chat to your neighbours, feel free, because in the event of a fire, you will hear a loud alarm noise and see all the beacons flash. Please leave through the nearest fire exit and make your way to the muster point at the front of the building on Argyll Street, and wait instructions from the Kelvin Hall staff. Ladies and gentlemen, it is our 100th anniversary year, and I think it's only right that at the beginning of this meeting, before we do anything else, we just pause for a moment or two and honour our founders, honour our past members that we've enjoyed dancing with over the years on the dance floors across the world. So we'll just take a moment to remember our absent friends. Much indeed, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure we've got very happy memories of some of these great folks that looked after our society for us over the last 100 years. Now, before we start our meeting, we have some special messages from some very special friends.
Many congratulations to the Royal Scottish Country Dance Society on its centenary. What a marvellous achievement. I love dancing. I think dancing is good for the soul, it's good for the body, it's good for the brain. Dance health at Scottish Ballet, I'm on the board at Scottish Ballet, is incredibly important. I see the joy that dancing gives people of all ages, and in fact brings people of all ages together. There's nothing, for example, like a good ceilidh to get a night going with a bang. So many congratulations, and here's to your next 100.
Hi guys, how you all doing? It's Gary Innes here. Just wanted to say a massive congratulations on reaching your centenary year. 100 years of the Royal Scottish Country Dance Society is just remarkable, and I'm sure the dances and parties all across the world will be in full flow, and I can't wait to join in when I can. See you very soon. Cheers.
Even now in Scotland, for most people that don't think of themselves as being interested in folk culture or traditions, most folk could get up and do Strip the Willow. And it's a thing that's kept alive here in my home village of Pathhead, Midlothian. We have family ceilidhs occasionally in the village hall, which feature little tiny tots, 2 and 3 years old, up to older people in the community, learning the dances and dancing alongside each other with a wee cup of tea and a bit of cake. So I'm really grateful to the Royal Scottish Country Dance Society for being the leading body that's keeping those traditions of social dance alive. And I'd like to wish you a very happy centenary birthday.
Hello, my name is Arabella Weir, and I was brought up by Scots, and because of my dad's job they had to leave Scotland. They were in their early 20s, but they missed it every single day, and they were determined to bring up their children as we Scots. So every single day we had to do a dance around the kitchen to Scottish country dancing music, with my parents, slightly embarrassingly, doing a wee jig or Strip the Willow or Dashing White Sergeant, whatever it was. And it was always to this: I have a bonnet trimmed with blue. Do you wear it? Yes, I do. And the rest. So I've got very fond memories of Scottish country dancing and also some slightly embarrassing ones, but I absolutely love it now. So a very happy 100th birthday to the Royal Scottish Country Dancing Society. Cheerio!
So what would you say to our members in celebration of the 100 years of the Society?
I think it's absolutely fantastic, 100 years, and keep it going for another 100 at least, and hopefully a lot longer than that. So important.
Encourage other people to join us.
And you can dance it, you don't have to be great, you just have to join in really.
Yeah, join in, get on the floor, listen to the music and have a great time.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, there we are. Some very special little messages from some friends who wanted to say hello. And Isla Sinclair, for the younger people amongst us, was on the telly back when we were in short kilts with the Generation Game, you'll remember. But she's a very keen Scottish country dancer, and after she retired, she's gone back to Scottish country dancing to her local class down in England somewhere. So that's great news. We've got somebody like Isla there. Ladies and gentlemen, I often get asked about our patron. And of course, we remember Her late Majesty the Queen with great fondness and everything she did for us. They haven't organised the new patrons yet for any of the organisations that Her Majesty the Queen was patron of. But I'm delighted to say that I do have a message from the King himself. Dear Mr. Williamson, please convey my warmest thanks to the members of the Royal Scottish Country Dance Society for their loyal greetings sent on the occasion of their annual general meeting, which is being held today. I much appreciate your kind message and your thoughtfulness in writing as you did. I was pleased to be reminded that you will be celebrating your 100th anniversary this year, and I hope that you have enjoyed your centenary events thus far. In return, I send my warmest good wishes to you all for a memorable and successful gathering. Charles R. The King, ladies and gentlemen. Well, we now move on to the agenda, and we have apologies, agenda item 2, apologies from Alan Mayer, Irene Bennett, Stuart Adam, Alex Gray, and Helen Russell. Agenda item 3, the minutes of the meeting of the 5th of November 2022. The minutes of the last meeting were sent to delegates 6 weeks ago, and there have been no requests for changes to be made to them. And I would like to invite Kate Gentles of the Cambridge and District Branch to propose the adoption of the minutes. Kate. Hang on, let's get a microphone there.
Thank you. Is that on? Is it on? Yes. Yes, so I'd like to propose that we adopt the minutes of the last meeting. Is that all I need to say?
Yes, that's fine, thank you. This was seconded by Sebastian Wanless of the Glasgow branch. So could I have a show of hands to adopt the minutes of the meeting last year? All in favour? Thank you. Any against? And any abstentions? So that's carried. Thank you very much for that. I will now sign this very important historic document, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are. You didn't know I could do joined-up writing, did you? No. So we now move on to item 4, ladies and gentlemen, the Society Chair's remarks. And I have them here somewhere. Here we go. Have you taken them away? Oh, that's very strange. Where have they gone? Ah, well done, Lizzie. It's a good job you're there. There's so many bits of paper up here, you've no idea. Let me begin with probably the most important thing I can do as the chair of the Society, and that is to say thank you to all those who have played their part during this past year to ensure the Scottish country dancing and the RSCDS march on into a new century. Thank you to the members of our branch committees, our working groups, standing committees and the management board, and other individuals for everything they have done over the past very busy 12 months A very special thank you to those who are stepping down from their role, often unseen, but I'm sure is very much appreciated by all our members. To our staff in Coates Crescent, a huge thank you to you for working hard for us on a daily basis, especially in this extraordinary busy year, for being the professional team that you are and providing continuity throughout the years. This gives me the opportunity to welcome formally 2 new members of our office team. Firstly, Ewelina, our designer and web officer. This is a hugely important job in a modern office, and I'm sure you have all been impressed by Ewelina's wonderfully bright designs that she has created for us this year. It's also a huge pleasure to welcome John, our Chief Operating Officer. Many of you have already met John or have had correspondence with him, and you will know what an asset John is already to the RSCDS. John came to us as an interim office manager after Claire left. He liked what he saw and applied for the job. So in a sort of way, John chose us. How about that, ladies and gentlemen, for a vote of confidence? John Berridge, welcome, John. And I must give a special thank you to the folks on the platform with me. I could not wish for a better team. As Franklin D. Roosevelt said, "I'm not the smartest fellow in the world, but I can sure pick a smart team." Lizzie, you are amazing. You're constantly on the move. You baffle us with your financial know-how. And your greatest achievement, you managed to put up with us too. And Gary, just 2 words for you. Cheers, man. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause. The Royal Scottish Country Dance Society, 100 years old. What a privilege to be the chair of the RSCDS at this time of the centenary and to be here in Glasgow where it all started. We have had some extra special events this year to enjoy, including the Centenary Ball earlier this year in Edinburgh. Gary and I have been fortunate and delighted to have visited many branches and groups during this year, and I know that's been appreciated, and it's been wonderful to meet all these people as they celebrated this significant milestone. I don't want to single any of them out, as that would take too long. Meeting literally thousands of our members and listening to and appreciating their enthusiasm has been truly humbling. And I want to thank each and every member for what you are doing in your communities to promote Scottish country dancing as a fun, healthy and welcoming pastime to be enjoyed by all. Mind you, although I had the honour of attending the inaugural ball for the new branch in Brittany in France recently, I have been more or less landlocked in the British Isles. Meanwhile, the chair-elect has been globetrotting to places like Canada and Australia. How did that happen? I also wish to thank some former chairs of the Society who willingly stepped in to represent me and Gary when there were events, we were at other events and we couldn't attend. Friends, we live in a fast, ever-changing world of fashions and technology. Our means of communications, for example, have changed out of all recognition since our foundation or even 30 years ago. For an organisation such as ours to survive and thrive, we must continually adapt and evolve to make the RSCDS and Scottish country dancing relevant in the 21st century. Following the global pandemic, everything you look at appears to be in a state of flux. Many organisations that were solid pillars of our communities are now struggling to regain support, and some have even disappeared. As a result of your determination and enthusiasm, the good management of the board and the support of the office staff, we are not in that situation. Our membership is looking very, very good for the next year, certainly on the up. and our financial situation is improving. This in no way suggests we should be complacent. Absolutely not. And you will hear later from our Treasurer how and why our finances are improving. As an organisation, we must never forget that it is the front line that must be supported. It is in the local classes or at socials that we are going to encourage more people onto the dance floor. That means that people need to be sure of a fun and a happy experience when they attend any of our classes or events. I did a workshop for one of our teacher organisations earlier this year, and I called it, "Will you come back next week?" Now that's a crucial question, actually. I began by pointing out to all the assembled teachers and tutors that actually they were responsible for whether someone came back next week or not. In other words, it is the instructor, the teacher, the conductor, the sports coach, whoever the person is that's out in front who will inspire and create the atmosphere and encourage a return. The society itself can only support these people to do that, and that's what we're here to do. Now that is not all. There is also the welcome and the smooth running of the branch and group. All of this helps. Good management is of course essential to any organisation. Our structures are sound, and let me just explain how it works. Our board meets 4 times a year to discuss ideas and make strategic decisions. The executive team, for want of a better title, I can assure you, we meet, well, it's the chair-elect, the treasurer. We meet with John, our operating officer, on a weekly or a fortnightly basis to make sure that the board decisions are being implemented and to hear of any difficulties there might be, and if necessary, an extra board meeting might be called. These are followed up by communication to members and branches through the Dance Scottish Together newsletter and the branch mailings. Of course, communication can always be improved, and we are undertaking a communication review at this moment. So, ladies and gentlemen, our 100th anniversary, what's our vision for the future? We heard lots of ideas this morning. In 1923, our founders met to discuss the possibility of forming a Scottish country dance society, just along the road there in Buchanan Street. They set out their vision of how that would be possible. And at the centenary of the society, and certainly following a global pandemic, we would be doing them a great disservice if we did not look at how we can build a secure for Scottish country dancing today. Tomorrow morning, we have a session presented by a number of members who represent branches where new ideas have been tried with successful outcomes. And I would encourage as many of you as possible to attend. Let's be in the business of sharing. As I've been out and about this year, I've been amused and sometimes dismayed at the myths I hear about the Royal Scottish Country Dance Society that have been presented to me. It very quickly became obvious to me that these myths have usually been cultivated by an individual in a branch who has become all-powerful and starts to make up their own rules, and then, of course, the society gets the blame. When I have said no to them, or sorry, but I don't know what you're talking about, there has usually been a great sigh of relief, followed by a big smile. Friends, as we move into the next century of the RSCDS, let's put this type of thing behind us. Unselfishly work to build a great community of Scottish country dancers. Wherever we live, be it in a large city or a small village, support our volunteers who step forward to join our committees, working groups, support our staff who do the most amazing job for us on a daily basis, and support our teachers, instructors, and importantly, our musicians as well. You know, any disagreements we might have pale into insignificance when we witness world events at the moment. The RSCDS and Scottish social dancing has been and will continue to be a force for good, bringing people together in that very special Scottish way of friendship, inclusiveness, and fun. But we need, especially in these extraordinary times, to pull together. To be here in Glasgow is always a joy, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone lifts their head, you probably noticed, as you pass them in the street, and smiles and says hello. Glasgow, the friendly city, the dear green place. And why is Glasgow so friendly? Well, as my Glaswegian maternal grandfather used to often remind me, William, we're all Jock Tamson's bairns. In other words, fundamentally, we're all the same. Nobody's any better or any more important than anyone else. We all have our individual talents, so let's use them for the greater good, not for self-promotion. So to finish, you may be surprised. As Mother Teresa said, none of us, including me, ever do great things. But we can all do small things with great love, and together we can do something wonderful. With that in mind, as we plot a new course for our society in its second century, and with the same enthusiasm and vision that the group that met here in Glasgow had in 1923, let us be a team, an international family, and most importantly, let's get on the dance floor, ladies and gentlemen, and have fun. Thank you very much. So we now move on to agenda number 5, the adoption of the Trustees' annual report and accounts. And I'd like to hand over now to our Treasurer, Lizzie Conder, who will give a brief presentation.
Thank you, William. I would also like to thank all the volunteers in the branches around the world for both attracting and retaining members, as well as everyone who's given up their time in order to enable a full event programme, including some of those very special events this year to celebrate the centenary, culminating in the spectacular centenary ball in the Assembly Rooms in March. All this support has helped the Society's income move back towards its pre-pandemic levels. Thanks is also due to John and everyone in 12 Coats Crescents for their hard work on behalf of the Society in order to enable us to deliver services to members, branches, and that full event programme we've seen. In particular, I would like to express my personal gratitude to Sandra Parish, the Society's finance manager, who works tirelessly for the Society and produced most of the financial statements in front of you. These financial statements cover the year the 1st of April 2022 to the 31st of March 2023. Looking at the operational financial position, this is shown in the Statement of Financial Activities in the column labelled Unrestricted Funds. It shows the Society starting to make a recovery from the impact of the COVID pandemic on its activities and finances, with a reduction in the unrestricted operating deficit from 102,000 to 64,000. This recovery is continuing the current year, with the deficit forecast to fall to 7,000 in the year ending the 31st of March 2024. The Society's income more than doubled from the previous year to 765,000, with the biggest contributor being the return of summer school for 3 weeks, with this event alone accounting for 36% of the Society's income. Summer school, along with winter school, helped contribute 97,000 towards running the Society's other charitable activities. Income from membership subscriptions has returned to the level of the income pre-pandemic. However, membership subscription alone only covers about 40% of the costs of running and undertaking the Society's charitable activities. I'm often asked, why doesn't the membership subscription alone cover the Society's activities? And in order for the membership subscription to cover the Society's, it would have to raise to £65 a year if it was going to alone fund the activities. Our financial model has been based for many years on the schools, the books, the CDs and the merchandise being priced to deliver a contribution so that the membership subscription can remain low and therefore open to all wherever in the world. This model also recognises that not every member will be able to benefit from the schools due to their location and timing. Now, while scholarships help ensure that financial constraints should not alone prevent attendance, we have to recognise the fact that the schools are held in Scotland and our membership is worldwide. So for many, coming to a school might be a once-in-a-lifetime activity. And therefore, this financial model is vulnerable. We saw that during the pandemic, and we do need to continue looking at other ways of raising income from the society. Now, increased educational activities in the year ended 31st of March 2023 has resulted in unrestricted expenditure of 807,000. Now, this is the same level as we in the last year prior to the pandemic. Given the inflationary pressures that we are all facing since March 2020, this result shows the benefit of all the hard work by our small team of staff in 12 Coates Crescents on delivering our activities as efficiently as possible, and far more cost-effectively than if we outsourced this work. In addition, digital communication are enabling committees to operate on an international remit for very little cost. And we've also benefited tremendously from having in-house web developer and graphic design skills. And as William has already said, all of that stunning artwork that you are seeing in the pop-up shop and for the Centenary was produced in-house. Moving on, you will see in the accounts there are designated and restricted funds. And these are shown also on the main statement of finance activities as generating deficits in the year. These funds are specifically linked to income generated or generated in prior years for specific activities. It is therefore not unusual for these funds to show a deficit in any one year, and it is often the intention of the donor for their donations to be spent over many years. Now, for accounting purposes, you have to recognise the income in the year the donor gives it, but you only recognise the expenditure as it happens. Notes 25 and 26 of the accounts will provide more detail on the individual funds. Now, while the total charity funds at 31st of March 2023 were almost 1.9 million, 625 of that is the cost of 12 Coates Crescent, and 560,000 is designated or restricted funds, and therefore very limited in what we can do with that balance. As I said last year, the Society only has a very modest unrestricted endowment, which given its size cannot be relied upon to buffer the Society from financial challenges. The year ended the 31st of March 23 was a challenging year for investments, with the continuing inflationary outlook combined with the UK market stock shock in October 2022, as well as concerns about the US going into recession, have all negatively impacted equity markets in which we are invested. We saw the investment gains of previous years unwind with a fall in the value of the endowment by 113,000. However, as a society, we are a long-term investor, and we will look at the value of the endowment over a 5 to 10 year horizon, and over that period we have seen overall our investments outpace inflation. Management Board, with the support of the Finance and Governance Advisory Panel, are currently reviewing the investment policy that we have to ensure that it both fits the Society's objectives and financial requirements. The Society has been applying for grant funding to provide the funding for additional activity that we wish to undertake, but this does require dedicated resource. And we are hopeful that we will be able to recruit a new fundraising officer soon to carry on the work started by Jason Dyer to broaden the Society's philanthropic income base. I am encouraged by the interest shown in the Friends of the RSCDS in its first year and hope that we can build the number of regular givers when the new fundraising officer is in place. Looking forward, and based on the financial performance of the year that we are in currently, I am optimistic that the unrestricted deficit will reduce further. And we should see the result I'm reporting to you hopefully next year will be meeting our budgeted deficit of £7,000. And we may, even in future years in 2025, I may be in the positive report that Society has moved into a break-even position, particularly if the proposed subscription increase is approved at this meeting. Summer School 23 was a great success, with attendance returning back to the levels we saw pre-pandemic. The fantastic new products such as Book 53 and the other Centenary merchandise have been very popular, with shop sales already to date exceeding the whole year's budget. Now, if you haven't already this weekend had a chance to visit the pop-up shop, then you can purchase Book 53 and other products on the website. The Centenary Fassnacloy whisky and Eightsome gin have also proved to be popular. There is some limited supply left, and that will be available for purchasing at the end of the AGM at the back of the hall, where Brian Rose has a small number of bottles available. Finally, I would like to thank my fellow members of Management Board, as well as Linda Harley, Alan Goulding, Elizabeth Harry and John Gibson on the Finance and Governance Advisory Panel for their insight and financial scrutiny over the past year. Do we have any questions on the financial statements for the year ended 31st of March 2023? That's all right.
Well, if there are no... Oh, there's one, yep. Okay. Fiona?
Fiona Grant, Bristol Branch. I might be a bit naive about financial matters, but I was puzzled when you said you thought the Society was making a good recovery, because I looked at the financial report and thought the deficit was increasing to March 23 from 65,000 in April 22 to 78 in April 23. So I was wondering what the basis for your optimism this year was. And I also wondered about how the Society might reduce its overheads, given that sales of CDs and music books and things might be thought to reduce as the Centenary celebrations come to an end and people start to think about just buying single dance instructions or downloading tracks from the internet, because this is something that the TAC shops and Leeds branch shops have been considering as a possibility in the year ahead. Thank you.
So if you look at the line, the net income expenditure before other recognised gains and losses, and if we look at the unrestricted funds, which is the thing that represents the operational activities of the Society, you will see that last year that was the deficit there was 102,000. And this year it has moved to 64,000. So therefore there is a recovery in regards to our operational expenditure. In terms, as I said before, the designated and restricted funds themselves show deficits in the year, which will then move the position from 64,000 to 78,000. Now, for accounting purposes, that is not, it is a normal factor for those funds to show deficits in the year. Because, as I said, particularly if you look at the restricted funds, we were very grateful for Maureen Haynes, who left a very large legacy to the Society for spending. However, that income was mostly recognised in the year 2022 and earlier, and therefore as we spend it by giving scholarships each year, that fund will generally show a deficit. In terms of net gains losses on investments, as I also said earlier in my speech, it was a difficult year for investments, and they were showing an unrealised loss of 113,000, which counterbalances the gain we saw in the previous year of 89,000. Now, to repeat a truism that you will often hear from a financial advisor, with investments, you will often see them going down as well as going up. If we look over the last 5 years, we have generally, on our investments, seen an overall gain that has been in excess of inflation. And therefore, from a perspective of looking at the operational activities of the Society, I am seeing an improvement in the deficit, and I continue to see that improvement in that deficit as we move forward into the current year we're in. Now, we have generally seen activities levels for our shop and our merchandise has been very good this year, far that I had budgeted at the start of the year. And I know that Angela and Membership Services Committee are continuing to think about ways of providing both merchandise that will be popular both to those who are members of society, but also appeal to those who enjoy Scottish country dancing and its music outside.
Thank you. Joanne Lawrence from London. It's encouraging to see that income from membership is growing, but we know that there's been substantial increases and regular increases in subscriptions year on year post-pandemic. What is the breakdown of the increase in actual membership, and how vulnerable does the board feel that is to continual growth when sustained subs increases are not necessarily feasible?
I'm happy to speak to membership numbers as best I can. As you all know, our membership rolls throughout the year, and so at any given time we have a snapshot. So I can't give you a definitive membership number for this year yet, but what I can tell you is our membership number on November 1st this year is 30% higher than it was on November 1st last year. Now, that sounds more optimistic than it is, because some branches have declared earlier than they have previously. But I think it's realistic, if we're being very conservative, for us to expect to end the year with membership just slightly under 10,000, 9,800, 9,900. So definitely a significant turnaround from where we were several years ago.
Any other questions for Lizzie before I ask her to propose the adoption of the trustees' report and financial statements? Okay, Lizzie, would you like to propose that? Thank you.
I propose the motion to adopt the trustees' report and financial statements for the year ended 31st of March 2023.
And the motion is seconded by Kim Ritchie of Mid-Argyll Branch. Thank you, Kim. So, ladies and gentlemen, a show of hands. All those in favour of the adoption of the trustees' report and financial, please show. Thank you. All those against? And all those in abstaining? Any abstentions? So that's carried. Thank you very much indeed. And a huge thank you to Lizzie Condor, a volunteer, remember, ladies and gentlemen, a volunteer for putting it. Lizzie, thank you very much. And your team. And indeed, Sandra Parish in the office for all that she does on that, ladies and gentlemen. Lizzie, it's back to you again for item 6, the appointment of the auditor. Thank you.
Chair, ladies and gentlemen, Alexander Sloan, Chartered Accountants, have been the Society's auditors for many years. They audit the trustees' report and financial statements as prepared by the Society. Alexander Sloan have proved to be very professional with extensive experience of charity accounts. They work well with our staff and management, and their diligence continues to provide enhanced governance of the Society to the benefit of the trustees and all members. Therefore, I would like to propose that the Society appoints Alexander Sloan, Chartered Accountants, as the auditors for the year ended 31st of March 2024.
Thank you very much indeed, Lizzie. Can I just ask all those, I should say that the motion is seconded by Lorna Valentine of East Angus Branch. And a show of hands, all those in favour of accepting the auditor? Here we are. Against? And abstentions? One abstention. Right, thank you very much indeed. That's carried. We now move on to agenda item number 7, the membership subscription. The RSCDS trustees are required at the AGM each year to set the annual subscription for RSCDS membership. I invite Lizzie once again, our Treasurer, to propose the motion on behalf of the Management Board, and the motion is seconded by Angela Young of the Management Board. Lizzie.
Thank you. As I have already mentioned today, the Society is constrained in its activities by the limits of its finances. And now, while the impact of inflation remains high, and it is felt by the Society, for example, our utility bills have increased by 50% from last year, we are also conscious of the continuing impact of the cost of living on all members. We wish to ensure that the membership subscription continues to be affordable and recognise that we will need to generate income from other sources, including the schools, to do this. We continually keep under review the cost to make sure that we're making the most efficient use of the funds we have while still developing and delivering the level of activity and benefits to all members. Therefore, the Management Board proposes that for the year from the 1st July 2024 4, the basic full annual subscription will increase to £28 per annum, with other membership subscriptions based pro rata on this amount.
Thank you very much indeed, Lizzie. Any questions from the floor on this? Yep, once again, here we are. Thank you very much.
Thank you. From London branch, we recognise the need for increased income, but we feel that the branches also need income. And for the last few years, the Society, quite rightly, has needed to have year-on-year increases. But we have been unable to increase our subs, and I presume other branches are in the same position, which limits what we can do. And our question is the Society investing its funds in the right area? There are expenses, there are budgets set to which the branches have no input, no voice, and we feel that the year-on-year increases are unfair to the branches as a whole.
I mean, if I look at it over the history of the Society, there have been many years when actually if we had kept an annual increase on the subscriptions, we would be a far higher level than we are at the moment. We also, when I compare us to organisations of similar size, particularly level of activity, we do remain with our membership subscription actually very affordable and very low. I know that there are branches needing to put their subscription on top of that. In regards to the budgets are reviewed regularly by both the Finance and the Governance Advisory Panel in terms of where we are spending our money and making sure we're spending it in delivery of the charitable objects of the Society, and also that we are making sure that we are investing wisely the funds that we are given by our members. We do operate as a very lean members of staff, and actually we're looking at areas where we've had to outsource. And we've often worked out that it's cheaper to bring it in-house, but that does come with a level of expenditure. So I have absolute sympathy that I do appreciate that there are branches where, due to their local environments, they've not had a chance to increase the subscriptions. But we are at the point, I think, that actually if we had been able to increase the subscription regularly, we would not have been facing this, we would not have to make significant either reductions in service, put prices up in other level of activities. So I'm kind of conscious that I think we need to have an annual increase and maintain that going forwards.
Sorry, do you want to come back? Yeah. Okay.
I take all those points, but the same applies to the branches. And we in the branches would like to make a small year-on-year increase, and we have been inhibited from doing so by the headquarters increases. And there are costs that, perhaps you mentioned fuel prices have gone up 50%. Do we need such a big building that has fuel costs of that nature? Should people throughout the world be funding that when actually they'd like to invest money and make annual increments in their own societies and their own dances? Yes, RCDS has to make small, regular increments, but so does the rest of the world, and that is where the growth is going to come from. It's going to come from grassroots level.
Yep. Thank you, John. John, do you want to say anything about the building? What we're kind of thinking, to follow you.
Certainly, there isn't anything that's off limits in terms of what we're looking at becoming leaner and more efficient and more cost-effective, and certainly we are looking at that. I think it's a valid point.
So we are looking at Coates Crescent all the time, and I can assure you, you do this job for 2 years, and once you get involved, there is not a lot of money wasted or swishing around in Coates Crescent, I can assure you, ladies and gentlemen. But we are looking at Coates Crescent, we're looking at how better we can use it, and actually whether we should have it at all. So we are looking at all of these things. I think when you speak to people, I discover we're all speaking from the same hymn sheet here. All I want to add, if there's no other questions, all I want to add to this is I occasionally go fishing at home, and it costs me £48 for a day's fishing, and I have to throw the fish back. Like that. Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, if there are no other Oh, Jimmy, yep, okay.
Jimmy Hill, representing Brighton and the Carolinas. Now, what I pay, my 28 quid that you're asking me to pay, I don't have any problem with that at all. It's a fraction of what I pay to the RNLI and to the National Trust of Scotland. So, in principle, it's cheap. But every single delegate and every member in this room knows that we're the ones who do all the work. We're the ones that recruit the members, teach them, keep them, and provide all the services that we do. There is pressure, I agree with the lady from London, there is pressure on the branches to keep the local subscription as low as possible. So the folk who are doing all the work are being pressurised to keep our subscriptions low. And certainly in the smaller branches, we are in competition with local affiliated groups where people don't need to be members of the RSCDS. So why do they come to a branch when they could be going to the affiliated group? At the same time, our treasurer has told us that you are thinking to reappoint a fundraiser. Now, nobody here batted an eyelid because, 30 grand a year, for example, I don't know how much, but 30 grand a year doesn't seem a lot. That's $250,000 they've just spent over the next 9 or 10 years. But they want members to keep paying. I'm not so sure about this rise. I can afford it. I'm sure everybody in this room can afford it. But the branches, we're the ones out there in the field. We're the ones that are going to lose members. And if you keep asking us a wee bit now, a wee bit next year, it's going to keep going, and a membership of the affiliated groups is going to become far more attractive than membership of the society. And in the long term, that's very bad news for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy. I think you'll find that the National Trust for Scotland and the lifeboats and all the other great charities have professional fundraisers. It's essential for a charity to go out and look for funds. And I do get slightly worried about the them and us thing. Former chair of a branch, I get it. And we're not in a city. Sticks up north, sticks down south, we branches, we get this. So we just look for your support, ladies and gentlemen, as we try and move this forward. I think we've got someone at the back wanting to speak. Yep.
Hi. So Luke Brady, on behalf of St Andrew's branch. I've been instructed to vote in favour of the increase. Another rural branch, one not based in a city. What I would like to ask is for clarification, confirmation of something that Lizzie said earlier. And that is that the income from the subscription covers about 40% of our total outgoing. And that actually a much larger portion comes from our events, summer school, which, by the way, receive much more frequent and much more pound-for-pound increases than we are doing here today. The truth is that the percentage, very small percentage membership that attend our events are keeping our subscription low worldwide and have done for years. That's not to say that's wrong, because it's great value at our events. I don't think that we should really complain about an extra £2 when under 10% of the membership are floating the whole operation by attending our events loyally and diligently every single year. And if you truly want it, stick it at £60, and I'm sure Lizzie will leave it there for a long time.
Thank you very much indeed. Any other questions before we move on to the vote on this? So, can I ask Helen McGinley? Helen, our voting master. This is way above my head. So, over to Helen for the voting. Just give me a figure at the end, Helen, would you? Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll take all the votes in favour first. So can I have delegates with pink cards voting in favour? Raise your hand, please. Thank you. Delegates with blue cards voting in favour. Thank you. Delegates with yellow cards voting in favour. I can count that myself. Delegates with red cards voting in favour. Red voting in favour. Thank you. Now those voting against, starting with the pink cards. Thank you. Those with blue cards voting against. Thank you. Yellow cards voting against. Okay. Red cards voting against. Any abstentions of any colour? Thank you.
Tempted to do a weather forecast while we're waiting, but that would just depress us even more, ladies and gentlemen.
Don't sing.
Yes, don't sing.
Nobody. Thank you very much. No. I've just been banned, seemingly.
Don't encourage him.
Thanks, Helen. Okay. So it's just the total in favour and the total against. Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have the results of the vote, and the results for are 178 against 64. So the motion is carried. Thank you very much indeed. Right, we now move on to the amendments to the RSCDS Articles of Association 7.2. And this requires a 75% in favour to go through. And I'd like to ask Trevor Clark of the Management Board and North West Craven Branch to propose this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, delegates and proxies. Actually, I'm no longer a member of North West Craven. Having moved down to Hertfordshire, I'm now a member of the Hearts and Borders branch. But last year, there were some important updates to the Articles of Association and to the rules and procedures of the Society, but it was clear that both documents needed more careful scrutiny and further important amendments. These are presented to you now in agenda items 7.1 and 7.2. Separate motions are required for these changes as there is a different threshold for updating each document. Firstly, therefore, agenda item 7.1, sorry, 7.2, amendments to the Articles of Association. These amendments have been agreed by the Management Board. You will see that 3 areas of the document have been updated. The first 2 involve updating the language to bring the document up to date with more commonly used and accepted language. The third change makes it clearer that all branches are obliged to appoint delegates rather than, quote, are entitled to. Entitled suggests that branches have an option to appoint delegates. However, it is an obligation for all branches to make these appointments as per the licence agreement, which is completed and signed by all branches. So on behalf of the Management Board, I therefore recommend acceptance of these changes to the Articles of Association that have been presented to you.
Thank you very much indeed, Trevor. Any questions from the floor for Trevor on this? Oh, yep.
Jimmy Hill, same branches. When you say branches are obliged to appoint delegates, what will happen if they don't? That's my first question. My second point is that the change, sorry, are you taking that on its own, or are you taking them as a group, or as a group? Can I comment then on number 2, the change from he, his to them? This is a perfectly sensible change. This, what a lot of people don't perhaps realise, and I'm very aware that I'm not the only English teacher in the room, using they as a singular pronoun, the first use of it was in 1375, according to the Oxford English Dictionary, and Shakespeare himself used it. So I don't think we should have any hesitation about changing to they. It's a perfectly common usage, perhaps unrealised by many of us. The change of chairman to chair, there are more important things in the world at the moment to worry about than that. I personally think it's daft. Chairman does not imply male or man or woman. And we have the word chair has always been used for the post of chair. The position has been chairman and has never implied man or woman. I think this is pandering to political correctness. And I don't think the society should do such a thing.
Thank you, Jimmy. Any other questions on this before we go to the vote? Yes. Over here.
Pia Walker, Atlanta branch. Can you explain the company limited by guarantee, please?
Sorry?
Can you explain the wording company limited by guarantee, please?
Yeah, so if you look at within the articles of the society is a company limited by a guarantee. It means that every person who has a proxy, each and every delegate is therefore guaranteeing the company, but the liability is normally limited to £1.
Okay. Right, shall we move on? Oh, yep. Chris.
Chris Harris, International Branch. You didn't quite answer Jimmy's first question. What happens if the branch does not appoint delegates?
As I said in introducing this motion, it is an obligation for all branches to make these appointments, as all branches, local associations, sign the license agreement, and I suggest the bottom line is if a branch has signed the license agreement, then you're obliged to appoint guarantors, and which are called delegates, to the society. If you don't appoint delegates, then you're in breach of your license agreement, I suspect.
Any other questions? Right, ladies and gentlemen, shall we move to the vote? Helen, can I ask you once again? I am not going to give an opinion on what I am called. No.
Delegates holding pink cards voting in favour, please.
There we go. Your mic's on. I know, I'm just use it nice. This is 75%. I think we're okay.
Thank you. Blue cards in favour? Yellow cards in favour? Red cards in favour? Pink cards voting against? Blue cards voting against? Yellow cards against? Red cards against? Any abstentions? It's clear. Absolutely clear without my doing so.
Yeah, if you could add them up. If you wouldn't Yes. Have the result of this, and this required a 75% majority. We have 230 in favour, 8 against, and 2 abstentions. So the motion is carried. Thank you very much indeed. We now move on to 7.3, Trevor. Yeah, the amendments to the wording for the RSCDS rules and procedures, which kind of follow on from the last one. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. The Constitutional Panel has worked, put a significant amount of work into looking at the rules and procedures and the articles during the year, and the updated document on the rules and procedures have been agreed by the Management Board and are presented to you this afternoon for your approval. As you will note, several areas have been updated as shown on the agenda. The first two, as with the articles, involve updating the document to bring the language more up to date with that in common use. Thirdly, a new subclause has been added to the powers of the Management Board to suspend branch status from local associations in the case of misdemeanour, mismanagement, or bringing the society into disrepute. Fourthly, in order to bring the rules and procedures in line with the articles as just discussed and passed, the wording of Rule 6, each branch is entitled, is now changed to each branch is obliged, so the two documents are aligned. Fifth, there was an error that we found in the rules and procedures. Currently number 8 is incorrect and confuses the definition of a delegate. This definition is correctly given in the Articles of Association, and so this paragraph in the current rules has been deleted. 6, mention of Secretary or Executive Officer has been updated to Chief Operating Officer. 7th, the new category, relatively new category of joint adult half-year membership has been added. This has been available from the RSCDS for a number of years. 8th, branches are now referred to in the document as independently constituted rather than autonomous. The term independently constituted has been used in the branch model constitution for some years and more accurately describes the relationship between local associations and the society. 9, 10 and 11 all point out where there are significant amounts of unnecessary duplication in the rules and procedures with the articles, and that has now been removed. The document has also been reformatted and renumbered as required. The Board is confident that these proposed amendments provide the Society with a document that will complement the Article of Association, and on behalf of the Management Board, I recommend acceptance of these changes to the Society's rules and procedures.
Thank you, Trevor. And this motion is seconded, I should have said, by Simon Wales from the Management Board. Any questions for Trevor on this? Yeah, Fiona? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Fiona Grant, Bristol Branch. Bristol Branch would like to express their thanks to the Constitutional Panel for taking the time to review all these clauses in a way which the branch committee themselves felt they were unable to do so. They did find it hard to concentrate their minds and look at both these documents. So the question they would like to ask is, how many branches do not currently appoint delegates? And how many do not send proxies to the AGM?
That would be for John to answer in the office, I suppose.
It's a very good question, Fiona. I think I will need to check and see what the return has been this year. It's a high number of branches that appoint delegates and send proxies, but I'd be happy to get the exact number and share it with delegates.
So, shall we move straight on to the vote if there are no other questions? Helen, we got her back on the floor once again for this. Can I just say a huge thank you to the Constitutional Panel for all the work on this? And as Fiona said, you know, there's lots of words and lots of paper. We are also looking at how we can make the administration easier for local branches moving forward. So we are aware of paperwork, we are aware of all this sort of stuff. And we want to make the branches' jobs, their volunteers, as easy as possible. So we are looking at all of this, ladies and gentlemen. So thank Fiona for that. Yep.
Thank you. Delegates with pink cards voting in favour. Thank you. Blue cards voting in favour. Yellow cards in favour. Red cards in favour. Against now. Pink cards voting against. Blue cards against. Yellow cards against. Red cards against. Any abstentions?
Right, ladies and gentlemen, the results of that count, and this only required a 50%. I think this one, yep. 250 for, 8 against. So the motion is carried. Thank you very much indeed for that. I can now express a personal opinion that I only have 2 legs, but never mind, there we go. I'll work it out. Right, never mind. Ladies and gentlemen, we now come to Agenda Item 8, the election of the board and committee members. The Management Board. The candidates were Heather Cowan, Claire Greisuk, Evelyn Redmond and Eileen Yates. And as a result of the election, we have Heather Cowan, Evelyn Redmond and Eileen Yates for 3 years and Claire Greisuk for 2 years. So, ladies and gentlemen, congratulations to them, and we have a full management board for the first time in a very long time. That's wonderful. That's absolutely wonderful to have a full board. Terrific. Just makes our life even harder, I think, probably. Anyway. Education and training, agenda item 8. We had one member standing for education and training, so I'm delighted to say that Gail Ingalls will be joining the Education and Training Committee. Gail, thank you very much indeed. Membership services, no one stood for membership services, but we do have a convener-elect, and I'm delighted to say that Jeremy Hill will be the convener-elect of the Membership Services Committee. So, Jeremy, thank you very much indeed for standing. And the Youth Services Committee, there were 3 members stood for 2 full-term places, and we have Lucy Phillips and Beth Fairbairn were elected, but a huge thanks to Elizabeth Witter for standing too, and I hope, Elizabeth, you will stand again for this committee. So Lucy Phillips, Beth Fairbairn were elected, and the convener-elect is Linda Williamson. So a huge thanks to them for standing. And ladies and gentlemen, for a very long time, the Youth Services Committee is full as well. So that's good news. And good luck to the Youth Services Committee. Under the power of Article 48, the Board confirms the appointment of these members of the management committees who have been elected by branch delegates. There are vacancies on both the Membership Services Committee and the Education and Training Committee. Under the terms of Rule 16H, both the Board and the committees will consider whether to make appointments to fill these vacancies for the coming year. Any such appointment will be subject to confirmation by the Management Board. I'd like to congratulate all the successful candidates joining the Management Board and the committees, and very much look forward to working with you. And if you were unsuccessful, please do consider standing again. And if I could ask those committees just to meet in the corners of the room just after the meeting, just to say hello, and it'd be great joy to meet lots of you folks. I should tell you, by the way, that the voting for the board and committees was 85%. 85%. There's many a by-election recently would have been glad of 85%, ladies and gentlemen. So we have a lot of interest and we're in very good heart. Oh, Lizzie wants to meet Fagap. Who's Fagap, by the way? In the corner. The financial people. Ladies and gentlemen, it comes now to the very pleasurable part of the annual general meeting, and I'd like to hand over to Gary Cool, our chair-elect, or is it George? I'm not quite sure.
Thank you very much, William, and good afternoon, everyone. It's my great pleasure to announce the Society School of Honour recipient. Each year, the Society presents the Scroll of Honour to a very small number of members who have given truly outstanding service to the RSCDS. And I'll now announce the recipients and read their citations. It was with great pleasure that on my world jaunt, to Australia, that at the Australian Winter School, I was able to present Trish Nichols with her scroll. Trish was nominated by Sydney branch, and over the last 20 years, Trish has been a regular teacher at Epping Club, Sydney. She has taught all levels, from beginners to very advanced. With her attention to detail, she soon became the first choice for technique workshops and courses in Sydney. Trish's ability to identify and correct faults in posture, footwork, handing or phrasing, and to demonstrate a very high standard has allowed her to produce huge improvements in her dancers. Trish was the first to teach the DAA in Sydney, allowing a shadow to observe and learn in order to take on subsequent courses. She has since been involved in a DAA course in Tasmania and also DAA assessment. Her talents did not go unnoticed further afield, and Trish has taught at Australian Winter Schools, day schools in Canberra, Mittagong and Hunter Valley, a weekend school in New Zealand, and on several occasions at summer school in St Andrews. In 2018, Trish began tutoring Unit 3 candidates in Sydney for tutoring 3 candidates in Sydney for Units 2 and 3 of the teaching certificate. In the same year, she spent 2 weeks in St Andrews tutoring another class for these units, before returning to Sydney to finish preparing the Sydney candidates for their September exams. Trish mentored these candidates for some or all of Unit 4 and then went on to tutor them all for Unit 5, with the added difficulties of stop-start dancing due to the COVID-19 lockdowns. Trish took on a shadow again during the Unit 5 training to share her knowledge and expertise. All candidates were successful, so now even more dancers can benefit thanks to Trish's commitment. In 2020, Trish recorded a Dance Scottish at Home online lesson, which was enjoyed by dancers all over the world. During the 2021 lockdown, Trish instigated many fitness sessions using Zoom. Initially, this was intended to keep Sydney dancers fit and connected, but soon spread across the country and even had a few overseas attendees. 2 of her Unit 5 candidates joined her in leading sections of the videos. Trish's talents do not stop at teaching. Over the years, she has been editor of the Sydney News and Information Bulletin and has jointly produced daily winter school newsletters. Trish is a valuable and dedicated asset in Sydney branch and beyond. Please join me in congratulating Trish Nichols. Yoshiki Oyama, nominated by Tokai branch. Mr. Yoshiki Oyama started dancing in 1977. In 1980, he participated in the summer school for the first time and joined Duncan MacLeod's team to demonstrate at the Younger Hall. Since then, he demonstrated several times there. In 1988, he became a qualified teacher. He started teaching regularly at an affiliated group in Japan, then for Tokai branch classes, and other special classes in the annual weekend camps every year since 1997. Not only for Tokai branch, but he was also invited to teach for Tokyo and Saitama branches. He's been bringing the basic standards and his enthusiastic breath into Japanese dancers widely for a long time. He was one of the founding members of the Tokai branch and was nominated the chairman of the branch in 2000 to 2002, and also since 2020. The branch committee under his chairmanship have planned the 25th anniversary weekend camp, and the committee has published the original anniversary book and CD. Yoshiki has also committed himself for the Japan Examination Committee, first as a committee member and interpreter, and then as convener for the examination jointly supported by the 3 branches in Japan. It was a huge step from the time when exams were held individually by each branch. He attended a tutor course in 1988 in Edinburgh and started tutoring in 2006. He shadow tutored in the Unit 2-3 course in 2012 at St Andrew's Summer School, and in 2013 he was appointed as an adjudicator and then an examiner in 2018. Recently, he also taught for the RSCDS in 2020 and was invited to teach at the Australian Winter School as the first teacher from a non-English speaking country in 2022. Also, Triple Happiness, the dance he devised, appeared in book 52. Yoshiki has been interested in the history of Scottish dancing and has written short articles in the Tokai branch newsletters over 20 years. He published the collection of his articles as a book in 2017 as Historical Episodes and the Background of Scottish Dancing. Over 1,000 copies were sold, and it is also in the National Library of Japan. He has also lectured on the history of Scottish country dancing a number of times. In 2018, he directed the stage performance Travellogue of Scotland in Tokyo, involving over 30 dancers, exploring the dances and music throughout history of Scottish cities and towns for 250 audiences. His task was to produce the theme and scenario and direct the stage from first rehearsal and to choose 15 Scottish country dances related to historical background. Yoshiki Oyama has dedicated himself for the international development of the RSCDS for nearly half a century in this Far East country of Japan. He is a right person for the Scroll of Honour in this centenary year. Ladies and gentlemen, Yoshiki Oyama.
Good afternoon. I'm Yoshiki Oyama from Japan. I'm very happy to receive the Scroll of Honor. And it is also my greatest pleasure that I could receive it in this centenary year. Now we are enjoying Scottish country dancing in Japan, far away from Scotland. I strongly feel that it is brought by the endless effort of the RSCDS, spreading Scottish country dancing to the world. This time, I'd like to express this time how grateful we are. Last but not least, I am grateful for the support of my wife, Kaoru, who is with me. Thank you, Kaoru. Now, and thanks to everyone who has supported and encouraged me in Scottish country dancing. Thank you. Happy dancing.
And a huge thank you to you both for coming over, especially from Japan, for this autumn gathering weekend. Ken Martlew, nominated by Hearts and Borders branch. Ken Martlew started Scottish country dancing in 1978 and has been an enthusiastic force for the RSCDS aims and standards in Hertfordshire and beyond for many years. Since he was awarded his full teaching certificate in 1994, he has taught numerous day schools and classes, both for RSCDS branches and for other clubs. Ken is a highly accomplished musician and since 1982 has played for classes, day schools and dances the world over. Ken supported the formation of the RSCDS Hearts and Borders branch in March 2020 and agreed to become the first president, and as such has supported the branch through its first few years. Ken travelled overseas to teach branch day schools and workshops, including for the Central Germany branch, RSCDS Lyon, and RSCDS Pretoria. Ken also taught a full certificate course in 2010 and also the Dancing Achievement Award. He has played for RSCDS Summer School for 20 years, and he plays regularly for day schools throughout the country. Showing even more dedication, he was the class pianist at RSCDS Cambridge, at BHS Border, and at RSCDS London for many years. He was the pianist for over 15 teachers' certificate courses at Summer School, BHS Border, and Cambridge. Ken's music appears in RSCDS Pretoria's 35th anniversary publication, Many Happy Hours. And he has always shared his skills in the Scottish country dancing world outside of the RSCDS. Hertfordshire did not have an RSCDS branch until 2020, and the promotion of dancing standards relied on affiliated groups. He has taught classes all over, including the DEM team, for 8 years in total and remains a regular MC. Locally, he has also taught Watford and West Herts Scottish Society and Chiswick Scottish Country Dance Club for several years. Ken has also taught at weekend schools and dancing holidays overseas, including Turin, Kiev, the French Alps and Torremolinos. Ken regularly plays with fiddler Barbara Manning. The duo has had numerous bookings in England and overseas. He produced the Berkhamsted Club Golden Book and CD and was also involved in the club's Diamond CD and book, both of which include several tunes and dances written by him. His dance, Widdershins, is especially popular around Halloween. Ken's contribution to Scottish country dancing is enormous and comprehensive, and RSCDS Hearts and Borders is delighted to nominate him for a Society Scroll of Honour. Ladies and gentlemen, Ken Martlew.
very big honour to have this, and I'm very grateful to the RSCDS and to the Hearts and Borders branch for nominating me. I would just like to say two things. This scroll of honour I receive on behalf of many, many people, some of whom are here gathered, who have passed on to me their expertise and enthusiasm for Scottish dance. I could mention many, but I will just nominate two, Robert and Stephen, who are among us, who originally introduced me to Scottish country dancing. They said, 40-odd years ago, they said, how about coming to our Highland Ball in 3 weeks' time? You have done some Scottish dancing, haven't you? So anyway, we got by and it took off from there. So thank you very much to some of you who don't even know what you have passed on to me. I am just a link in a chain from what you have given to me. The second thing I would like to say is what an enormous pleasure it has been to share in Scottish dancing all over this country and all over the world. Whether teaching, playing, or just dancing, it is a wonderful hobby and a wonderful worldwide community. So keep dancing. Thank you.
Sue Duckett, nominated by Cheshire Branch. Sue Duckett began her involvement in Scottish country dancing as a fresher at the University of Manchester in the early 1950s and has been a member of the RSCDS since that date. Her outstanding contribution to Scottish country dancing lies in the activities associated with the publication of Scottish country dancing in diagrams. When in 1967 the publication went out of print, Mr. Pilling passed over the system and its publication to some members of the Chester Caledonian Association and Reel Club, including Sue. There were conditions which included it being a non-profit making venture, with any profit used for financing the next edition or for supporting the learning of Scottish country dancing. In September 1969, the third edition was printed and the ninth and final edition was published in 2017. At its height, for a new edition, over 200,000 copies were sold. Sue has been the key member of the small editorial committee, both compiling and coding the dances electronically in the format that we are now very familiar with, and has provided the very solid foundations that subsequent coders have been able to build on. Copies of the publication have been sold internationally in vast quantities over many years, and has been welcomed as an additional resource, especially for non-English speakers. A picture, or in this case a diagram, paints 1,000 words. Maintenance of high standards of dance has always been high on the agenda, and to this end, profits from the publication have since 1997 provided an annual residential scholarship for 1 week at the RSCDS Summer School. She has personally encouraged dancers to attend RSCDS weekend schools and summer school to improve their skills. Added to this, bursaries have been offered to encourage local dancers, both youngsters and those taking their teaching certificates. Many of these now teach at branches and affiliated groups. Other activities which have benefited from the publication are a contribution of £250 towards a new members pack and a contribution of £2,500 towards the production of the CD for Book 15. The books have also been a regular addition to the shop at Summer School in St Andrews for many years. Sue has always maintained high standards of teaching, accurate transcribing of dances into diagrammatic, I knew it was going to get me eventually, diagrammatic form, and has encouraged numerous dancers and teachers. Unfortunately, Sue's not able to be with us here this afternoon, but please join me in congratulating Sue Duckett. Almost there, almost.
Oh, God. It's like the Grand National, this, isn't it? You fall at the last hurdles. I know. Ladies and gentlemen, we congratulate all our scroll recipients, and I must thank Gary and indeed the scroll panel for their thoughtful review of the applications. It's not an easy job. As you know, we don't give these things away very, very easily. These people have really earned these scrolls, so would you say a massive thank you to the scrolls panel and indeed to our recipients today. Well done, everybody. And I move to agenda item 11, where I'd like to call upon Sebastian Wanless, the chair of the Glasgow branch, to give the vote of thanks. Ladies and gentlemen, the founding branch, in a kind of a way, Glasgow branch celebrating its 100th anniversary, and their chairman, Sebastian. Well done, Glasgow.
Thank you. Thank you. Can you hear me? That's good, because you're unlikely to see me. I'm vertically challenged. As I said to William yesterday, I was the smallest boy in my primary school class, and I haven't grown much since. It's an honor for me to be asked to give the vote of thanks, and we're really honored in Glasgow as well that the Society is hosting the event here in the centenary year. And so I have some people that we would like to thank. I should say, I also think the event is going really well so far, don't you think? First, may I thank the management and staff here at Calvin Hall, all of the RSCDS staff who work so hard at Coates Crescent, the Autumn Gathering Working Group led by Alan Creighton. Alan is back there. William Williamson for chairing the meeting. You're doing well, William. Luke Brady, the music director, for setting up the sound systems. Alan McPherson for the excellent archive display that we have at the back of the hall. Ewan Galloway, who gave such excellent music yesterday at our dance. I think everyone would agree with that. And John Carmichael for his band who played for the Cayley upstairs. The MCs for the events are Janet Johnston and Jim Stott for Friday evening, Heather Cowan and Anne Robertson for Saturday evening. Thanks also to the Hawaii branch for compiling the dance program for yesterday evening, and to our branch for the program this evening. We would like to thank Sue Porter for providing all the cribs. And a big thanks to the Glasgow Dem team. I feel like I'm thanking myself, but it's not me. It's the Glasgow Dem team did a fantastic job. I'm sure you all agree yesterday. I wish I could dance like that. And the music for that event, for that demonstration, was provided by Marston Skeen. The youth team, the RSCD Youth Dem team, will be providing a demonstration this evening, and we thank them for that, and for Luke Brady providing the music. For the Saturday class, we thank Angela Young and Andrew Nolan, and David Queen and Susan McFadden for the Sunday class. Thanks to all the volunteer stewards who were organized by Alana Creighton. Many thanks to Alistair Brown for piping, to Johnson Media for providing the sound system and the recording of the event, and for the tomorrow's Sunday session, which is designed to show ways in which we can encourage membership. We thank the team involved. That's John Berridge, Sheila Bain, Niels Generod, Margaret Pritchard, Elizabeth Mitchell, and Sebastian Wanless. That's me, by the way. I don't mind thanking myself, it's okay. And finally, thanks to all the delegates and spectators for attending the AGM. And one thing I did forget, we'd like to thank Calder's for lending us these plants for decorating the hall. Thank you very much indeed.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, can I just say on behalf of all of us here on the management board and the headquarters staff, to Sebastian and the Glasgow branch, what a joy it has been to work with you folks, to put this together. You have been absolutely marvellous. Working with Sebastian is a real joy because being a Glaswegian, you're just always waiting for the punchline, as you noticed. And he got 3 plugs for himself out of it today, which was very, very subtle indeed. Thank you. And I should tell you that at the end of the month, the weekend of the 26th, I think, of November is the Centenary weekend, and the Glasgow branch will have their ball. We're going to have the board meeting in Glasgow that Saturday. And on the Sunday, if you happen to be in Glasgow at all, come along to Buchanan Street, to the Hard Rock Cafe, which was the Athenaeum Theatre, and thanks to Sebastian's good offices, ladies and gentlemen, we will be unveiling a blue plaque to say this is where the Royal Scottish Country Dance Society was founded in 1923. How about that? Thank you very much, Sebastian. Well done. Well, after this, ladies and gentlemen, Gary and I were just talking about an old song. We're only a couple of old common working lads, as anyone here can see. But when we get a couple of drinks on a Saturday, and believe you me, we're going to have a couple of drinks on a Saturday, Glasgow belongs to me, ladies and gentlemen. Item 12, I can confirm that the date of the next meeting is Saturday the 2nd of November 2024 in Edinburgh. So this concludes the meeting. Thank you for attending. Is that anywhere near what you got in the tote? No, okay. Glad about that. The meeting is closed, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.